Hi friends, welcome to our program once again. Ron Wyatt, archaeologist and nurse, and he's also an anesthetist. Did I say it right that time?
Nurse anesthetist, John.
Nurse anesthetist.
I put people to sleep for surgery, and I put people to sleep at lectures.
Now here's the man who discovered Noah's Ark, discovered the Ark of the Covenant in Jerusalem, discovered the Pharaoh's army under the Red Sea, and you have discovered how the pyramids were actually built. And of course there's been many questions for years and years how in the world this could have been done. Some even thought, in fact scientists today in the United States believe that it was done through levitation, and they're, it's mind control and levitation that they're actually experimenting with right now. So it's interesting. But let's begin with the Red Sea. What happened at the Red Sea? Let's show a map here to begin with to our viewers of the Red Sea. And now most of the people, Ron, initially believed that if we get a shot of this right here, and believe that the Red Sea actually has two inlets around Sinai. Maybe show each one.
All right. Now this area here is the Gulf of Suez, and most people believe that the crossing took place somewhere in this area. In actuality, at the point in time of the Exodus, there was a canal fortified on both sides with a gate right here called the King's Gate. Sukkoth was right here. Now the southern route goes across here and would have gone north of Eilat, John.
So most people believe they crossed
the Gulf of Suez.
The Gulf of Suez, which is part of the Red Sea as well.
That's right.
Now where is what many people consider to be Mount Sinai today?
Right here, John.
Right there.
Yes. However, we have found stone pillars with inscriptions marking the crossing site at the Gulf of Aqaba, not to be confused with Suez. And the real Mount Sinai is Jebel el-Lawz in northwest Saudi Arabia. Some of this, a second group other than myself, went out there just recently and documented the site also. The Saudi Arabian authorities have put a 12-foot high chain link fence around that, set it aside as an archaeological site. So this is reality.
Now you were actually imprisoned in Saudi Arabia for a
one of my so-called friends told the Saudis that I was an Israeli spy, and so they just checked us out to make sure that that wasn't true. And so we're friends with them. They're nice people.
So with friends like that, you don't need any enemies.
Well, with the one that called and said that I was an Israeli spy, that's right. I can handle my enemies. Lord, save me from my friends.
So we have a video clip that we'd like to roll on your discovery of this particular region here.
Yeah, this video clip will show a column on the Egyptian side of the crossing site, and then
there it is now.
Yes.
Now what is that pole there?
That is of Phoenician design and origin, which dates it back to King Solomon's period. You're looking at about the 8th
now this is the Red
century
Sea.
BC. This is underwater at about 60 feet in the Red Sea. This wheel is a 4-spoke wheel, has a gold veneer on it, beat gold. And we were able to find this with some electronics. We vacuumed the silt off of it, photographed it, and then we covered it again.
Now that's a wheel off a chariot, and it only has
correct.
4 spokes there.
That kind of surprised me too. All the other wheels that I had found to date were the 6-spoke
Now this is
wheel.
the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and it has a 6-spoke wheel.
Right. Now we found several of those with that hub, and we went back to the museum, and if you look in the lower center of the picture, you see a 4-spoke wheel. A
4-spoke wheel. So the 4 spokes are very significant because there was a 4-spoke wheel in the museum in Cairo.
That's right. It appears on chariots, and it appears on the carts that the king hauled his boats around in. So it's possible that he took a boat along for a little fishing or something. He didn't consider the slaves much of a threat. So it's possible that that's what this came off of.
So when you were in the Red Sea area and you saw this wheel off a chariot, what other artifacts that were able to...
we have found horses' skeletons and human skeletons, in addition to chariot boxes, chariot wheels.
So you found horses' skeletons
That's
and
correct.
human skeletons,
and... The chariots and the horses would be hard to explain, without
60 feet under the sea.
Yeah, and 200 feet under the sea also. A mile
200
and a half
feet as
out.
well. Oh, my
Yes, that's
goodness.
correct.
So that's pretty deep in that Gulf of Aqaba. then.
Right, I'm convinced, and I'm a hard fellow to convince, and I assume that a lot of people out there that are listening, are a
So
little
what would be
skeptical
the
of what we said.
significance about all this, Ron?
Well, the significance is that these are actual events that are talked about in the Bible, actual events. And there is a story that goes with the crossing where God destroyed the most powerful army on earth at that point in time, at least in the Middle East, and provided their weapons for the slaves that were not armed at that point in time, but put the Amalekites to the edge of the sword later. These charioteers with their weapons bound on their body, because chariots are bumpy, were swept across to the side that the slaves were on, and it says they looked upon their bodies on the seashore, and of course all they had to do is walk among these dead bodies and help themselves to the best weaponry of their time. So it's quite a miracle there that God performed.
No, we read last week on our program Isaiah 59:16, where it says that God shall lift up a standard when the enemy shall come in like a flood.
Right.
And we find secular humanism and the enemies of the Bible, even within the church today, that are denying the Word of God, denying the historical accuracy of the accounts in Genesis, as was the account of Noah's Ark, the flood. And yet these were all judgments. There were the judgments against the world in Noah's day. There was a judgment against Pharaoh and his army.
Right.
And so this ought to confirm to us that God's standard is there, and you are serving to verify many of these things that were historically accurate.
Yeah, sin is a malignancy in God's universe, and he has to eradicate it. You see, the plan of salvation was made so that anybody that wants to accept Christ and his sacrifice on their behalf can be saved and have an eternal existence.
Are you working with the Saudi government as well as the Egyptian government?
We work with the people that are, in authority in these places. I don't go out and steal people's stuff. I take things only by permission, and I analyze them, and if requested, I return this to the people that, that it belongs to.
Okay, now we have another clip that we'd like to share with our friends, and this is on the carvings of that you believe Joseph was being referred to here.
How the pyramids were built has been a fascinating, shall we say, quandary or puzzle for years. Now, Herodotus went to Egypt in the 5th century and describes it. And
car being lifted.
Right, we built working models based on Herodotus's description and the hieroglyphics that we found on the pyramids. And to demonstrate that these things do work, we lifted a car that was equal in weight
now, this is
to
the Great Pyramid
stone. This is the middle pyramid. We went out there and put 3 of these machines on the pyramid by permission of the Egyptian authorities, and we lifted this up the side to demonstrate how it worked. I'm a skeptic, and I hope that the folks in the audience don't just believe everything they're told without checking it out. Now, the remarkable thing about the pyramids is that Joseph, a Bible character that we're all familiar with, his Egyptian name was Imhotep, which means the mouth or the voice of I am. Now, the significance, the way we know this is reality, is that in the Mastaba tombs near that pyramid that he built at Saqqara, some of the high-ranking officials that were under his command stated in the hieroglyphics that they collected grain for a 7-year famine. Now, you don't do this after a famine.
Now, this was found
at Saqqara. It's in the hieroglyphic inscriptions in the Mastaba tombs of these officials. And you don't collect grain for a 7-year famine unless you know it's going to happen